I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 202. If you don't already know, I'm Kev Tardello, coming to you on Friday, August 29th, and it's almost game time. We are one night away from the Texas State Bobcats kicking off their season against Eastern Michigan at UFCU Stadium, 7 p.m. Saturday night. Be there. We'll be there. Excited to see a lot of you sickos, especially a lot of you that got in the mailbag for this episode. Hoping to see some of you out there, maybe at that Scout tailgate, maybe just hanging around the parking lot at the stadium. Excited to see a bunch of you out there. Excited to see these Bobcats. We've got a great episode for you on this one. I mentioned the mailbag. That's going to be most of the episode. But before we do the mailbag, do a super quick little preview on Eastern Michigan. I feel like we've talked about them a lot, especially going back to Wizard Wednesday on Wednesday with our great producer, Zachary Webb. If you watch that, 3 keys for the Bobcats to win on Saturday. Go check that one out. It was a great episode. So we'll run through that one real quick. The official depth chart was released for the Bobcats on Wednesday, so we will see how it stacks up against mine. Pretty good, not too bad. There's a few areas I was wrong. We'll go over that quick, and then we'll end with the mailbag. Nice long episode for you right before the season starts. But of course, before we get there, this episode is brought to you by TGC LLC, the GalindoCollective.com. That's GALINDO, GalindoCollective.com, a team of professional consultants dedicated to helping others realize their business potential through people, planning, and practice. Their services cover a wide range of areas such as business strategy, marketing, human resources, and financial planning. If you own property or a business and want to maximize its profitability, contact TGC at thegalindocollective.com and follow their social media platforms on Twitter at TGC_LLC and on Instagram and Facebook at The Galindo Collective. Shout out to my guy, Rick Galindo, a true Texas State sicko, a Texas State grad himself. Can't thank him enough for his 3rd season partnering up with us and for providing tickets for our TGC ticket giveaway, which we will be doing the drawing for later today. If you're on social media, you probably got in there and are in the mix to win those tickets. Thank you to TGC and Rick Galindo for making that possible. All right, as you can see, I'm also wearing the Cats by 90 hat. Still have the Been Having It hat, bhihats.com. 15% off this week. Last episode, I said 10%. That was wrong. Those guys, they want you to get these hats, so it's 15% off at bhihats.com when you use code WNOGB at the checkout. I've got the white Cats by 90 hat. They have maroon looks as well with Cats by 90, a nice state script gold Cats by 90 hat, 3D embroidery. These are great hats. If you're watching our YouTube channel, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube, you can see me wearing it right now. It's a great hat. Shout out to my guy, Nick Gates, another Bobcat-owned business that we have sponsoring the pod. So shout out to Been Having It Hats. Go check them out, bhihats.com. All right, let's get to these Bobcats. I'm going to try and be quick because there was a lot of questions. Shout out to you sickos. There's about 30 questions. I called for them in the YouTube comments as well, and that got a little traction. Mainly it's on Twitter for most of the questions. So I appreciate the everyone jumping in and wanting to get on the pod. But we'll do a quick Eastern Michigan preview real fast. Texas State is favored by 13.5 points in this game. The over-under is 58.5. If you listen to other episodes that I've done when I've talked about this game, I feel like this is a game that Texas State should win, specifically when the Wizard and I, was it episode 200, we did our season prediction. This is a game that they should win. Obviously, they are favored to win, but we have seen them kind of hold back a little bit in the first game of the year. We saw that against Lamar last year, specifically in the second half of that game, where they didn't want to reveal everything they had before playing UTSA. It's the same situation this year with UTSA next week, so I could see them maybe letting off the gas a little bit, so that 13.5 might be a little high. Still have the Bobcats winning pretty comfortably in this one, and I also have it under that 58.5. Now, I will say I'm not a gambling man. I do not bet, so take those with a grain of salt. But that's just my feel for the game, under 58.5. And G.J. Kinney's 2-0 in season openers at Texas State. I should have looked up at Incarnate Word. I'm sure he won that one. They had a great year. Fairly certain they won their first game that year as well. So he gets them ready to go right out the gate. And I don't anticipate anything different this year. Yeah, and I had a few more notes, but I'm going to leave it at that because as I'm going through it, I'm remembering there's a lot of questions about Eastern Michigan. So we'll save it for that, and we'll get to the depth chart real fast, and then we'll get to questions because, like I said, there's a whole lot of questions, and I want to make sure to give you all time to answer them. I won't take all day, I promise. But yeah, let's go to the depth chart. For the most part, I was relatively right on a lot of them. There were a few starters that I did miss. I had Brad Jackson as the starting quarterback. Keldrick Luster named QB2, though. That's very, very fluid, according to G.J. Kinney. So we still could see Holden Gerner out there. Could even see some Nate Yarnell. Running back, I had Lincoln Perry at starter. That held true. I had Greg Burrell as the second running back. He was there, but with an or with Torrance Burgess listed, and Burgess listed first. So an or at RB2. Wide receiver, the X, Chris Don. I had Chris Don, and there he was. L.J. Johnson right behind him, the freshman out of Texas Tech. Shout out to Chris Don. I think he's going to have a big season. Look out for Chris Don. Wide receiver Y. Now, it's kind of interesting how they put it. So they put their receivers X, Y, Z, and H. And the Wizard and I were trying to figure out, okay, wait, is the H slot or is the Y the slot? Or is there two slots? Is this G.J. Kinney not wanting anybody to see his scheme once again in a depth chart? I believe so. I think that's what we have. So it's hard to tell exactly who's in the slot. We could see Bo Sparks in the slot because we've seen that wide receiver Y last year play in the slot. So, but for now, wide receiver Y, Bo Sparks, and behind him, Jordan Martin. I had that one, unless that's a slot, because I had Bo Sparks and Jordan Martin out wide. So if they do push that Y receiver inside, then it could be two slots. And then wide receiver Z, we had Kylan Evans, but his backup I had wrong. It's actually Ty Mims, which is real. I don't know why I didn't think of this myself. The last episode when I'm doing the depth chart prediction, I'm talking about receivers, and I'm like, they're really top in slot. They have a ton of experience, but out wide, they're real top heavy, but it's a lot of youth below them. So I don't know what they're going to do. Move one of those slot guys out wide, like Ty Mims. It's such an easy little equation that I didn't calculate in my head. That makes a lot of sense. Move Ty Mims. Guy's got a ton of experience. He was a really good player for Southern Miss, and they wanna be able to make room in that slot to play Maven Anderson at that H receiver who I was talking about. I got that one right. Directly behind him is Tyron Smith, the UTEP transfer speedster. So they're utilizing that experience by spreading them out to different receiver positions instead of log jamming them all at that one receiver position. I think that's a good move. Let's go to tight ends. We have Blake Smith at number 1, and then Titus Lyons at number 2 with an or by Ty Stammy. Ty Stammy is listed first, but shout out to Titus Lyons getting the or. Lyons actually might be listed first. Now I'm looking at it. Lyons is listed first. Let's go to the offensive line. Left tackle, Dorian Strong. We had that one right. Behind him, Anthony Crease. Now, remember I was saying they like to take these big guys and push them inside sometimes. Anthony Crease, they're going to keep on the outside, but there's another big guy that they pushed on the inside. I knew they'd like to get an extra large guy at guard. That's something I've noticed. At left guard, we have Emeka Bebo. That one stayed true. Behind him, Lysander Moeo, the big guy from Syracuse. That's the guy who I thought was going to play tackle. They actually have him as backup at both guard positions. I had Brock Riker at left guard, and that one was wrong because he is actually the center. Brock Riker, Brock from Brock, Texas, and Brock High School. Triple Brock. I saw people putting that online. That's awesome. A freshman starting at center. Obviously, they think really highly of this guy. So they're putting him at a very important position on this offensive line in the middle of it, snapping the ball, calling out protections. Good for Brock Riker. I'm excited. It's nice to see, especially he was competing against guys who have a lot of experience. With Talik Lockett, he's a guard, but he was competing at center. Then Ezra Dotson-Oyatade, he's a transfer from TCU. That's probably why I was assuming some of these other guys with more experience would beat him out, but I was wrong. Shout out to Brock Reicher. Good job for Brock from Brock. He has a pinned tweet on his Twitter about a car accident he was in a few years back and how it gave him a ton of perspective on his life, and it's fascinating to look at that and see where he is now. Everybody has an interesting story to tell. Nobody's a nobody. Everybody has a cool story. I want to talk to him about his sometime. At right guard, I had Anthony Crease, and I guess I should say Ezra Dotson-Oyatade, backup center. Talik Lockett is moving to right guard. I had Anthony Crease. They're pushing him outside to tackle where he was at Kentucky. But Talik Lockett staying at right guard. He's a really solid blocker there, so I totally understand that one. And then Lysander is backing him up at guard as well. So Lysander, the backup guard at both positions. Essentially, it's 7 players for 10 spots, the starters and the backups. Possibly 8. It's actually 8, I think. Behind him, right tackle, we have Sully Burns. Got that one right. This is where I had Lysander as the backup right tackle. This is where Anthony Crease is, right there. Anthony Crease, backup right tackle. Okay, let's go to defense. Edge, Khalil Alexander. I had that one right. Behind him, though, it's Kennard Snyder at the edge. I had Tymir Jackson. At defensive end, I had Jolazen Landry. That's where Tymir Jackson is. Not on edge. They have him at defensive end. They have him at number 1 defensive end, wearing number 0 out there. I knew when they gave him that single digit, that lower digit number, they were thinking pretty highly of him. So he's going to be the starting defensive end with Jolazen Landry spelling him off the bench quite a bit, no doubt about it. Defensive tackle, Cam Washington, had that one right. I had Lange behind him, but it's actually Bryce Carter, the Virginia transfer. He's going to be the backup defensive tackle. At nose tackle, I had J.P. Dieter. They have him at defensive tackle as a backup, that tells me a lot about this defensive line and how deep they are, because you look at that guy, and he seems like a guy who's ready to play. He could be a starter on a lot of other teams, and the fact that he is backup is very telling. But the starting nose tackle, Jordan Sanders, Cal Poly transfer, getting out there and beating out some other guys. I had Devarick Woods behind him. This is where Lange is, though. They have him at backup nose tackle. So you'll see him quite a bit. They cycle through these defensive linemen, so we will see them a lot. A lot of the other defensive linemen we listed are on the depth chart. They listed them really deep on the depth chart. Some of those positions are 4 deep, so go check that out. It's on the Tech State side. It's on social media at this point. But just want to get to those questions. I don't want to burn too much time talking about all the players. I could sit here and talk about name dudes and talk about players all day. Middle linebacker, Traylon Payne is who I had. That's who is the starter there. I had Ashton Heflin behind him, a sophomore, transferred in from Marshall. He used to play at Georgia Tech as well. But it's actually Cole Niles, sophomore. I meant to make a note where he went to school. I know it wasn't very big last year. He transferred in. He's 6'4", 241 pounds. I remember when he came in, somebody was talking about how massive he is. Is this the next David Mayo at Texas State? Really high praise early on, but for this guy to be second on the depth chart pretty early in his career, he's a sophomore. He's out there wearing number 45, so look for him. Big linebacker, big inside linebacker. When I saw his size, I was like, maybe they'll want to put 20 pounds on him and put him on the D line. Nah, they're keeping him right in the middle at linebacker. I like that. At weak side linebacker, we have Michael Boudwin, who we expected. And an or next to Boudwin, though, with Aiden Jones, the Prairie View A&M transfer we talked about. They did not have a star designation. They have it designated as nickel this year, so they switched that up a little bit. Maybe they still call it star. I'm not sure. But at nickel, we had this one right, Amari Atwood and Will Mitchell. At corner, I had the starter right with Jaden Rios. Behind him, I had Jade Lawton, who actually wasn't listed on the depth chart. He did get in fall camp pretty late, so imagine he's still working his way in there. But Trez Moore is backing up Jaden Rios. At the other corner spot, Camden Grogan, the Lamar transfer. That's who I had starting. He is out there. And his backup, Kamari Terrell, the Oregon transfer. That's who I had as well. I had got the starters and backups right at safety, but I had free safety and strong safety switched. So Ryan Nolan is the starting free safety. Bobby Crosby is the starting strong safety. Behind Ryan Nolan at free safety, Darius Jackson. And behind Bobby Crosby at strong safety. We have Javis Minette, a Wofford transfer. I also mentioned Tice Williams on that young guy getting into the mix as well. Kick returner, I had both of them wrong. I had Tyron Smith and DJ Taylor, who we didn't see listed on the depth chart. I was pretty excited about his kick returning ability. He's a defensive back, but he's really known as a specialist. But Bobcats have Jalen Jenkins and Torrance Burgess, running backs, returning those kicks. I forget that they like to do that. We've seen them do that before. On punt return, it's going to be Bo Sparks and Tyron Smith. Bo Sparks and Ty Mims. Ty Mims, the Southern Miss transfer. I had Tyron Smith. It's actually Ty Mims listed on the depth chart. Kicker, Tyler Robles, transferred in from USC. Pretty good kicker, I'm pretty sure. I remember when he came in, I was like, okay, it's a good one to look at. And I saw Mike James also listed, Michael James. I imagine he might do kickoff duties. Then punter, David Nunez, I had that right. I did not list the long snapper, but they did list one on the depth chart. Austin Turner, shout out to Austin Turner, listed at 268 pounds as a long snapper. I do appreciate that. That is a big long snapper. That's somebody who, if he's got to go down and make a tackle, he's going to make it hurt, and that's what you like to see. I can remember there was a long snapper here named Lange that he was real athletic, wasn't big like that, but they were even working him at tight end a little bit. He impressed them that much in camp. But all right, there we go. Depth chart. Let's get to this mailbag. We got a lot of these questions, and I want to get to them. But I got a special message for you. Before we get there, we are proud to announce a new sponsor this season, Turnkey Tailgate Party Providers. Turnkey Tailgate Party Providers. A Bobcat-owned and operated business owned by two brothers, Steve and Trey Garza. Turnkey Tailgate is the premier party provider for the I-35 corridor, servicing Austin to San Antonio and everything in between. Rent tailgate party trailers, tents, chairs, and other outdoor equipment. They'll even set it up and take it down. They have all kinds of stuff. An 8x16 trailer with electric brakes, an RV bathroom with air conditioning, hot and cold water, roof mounts, TVs, receivers, portable generators, tents, chairs, coolers, whatever you need, they got you. They will set you up and make sure you are partying hard at a Tech State game this year. Like I said, Tech State owned, so they want to start servicing these Bobcats. That's why they're sponsoring us here at Win Now or Get Bent. So please go check them out at turnkey-tailgate.com. That's turnkey-tailgate.com, or call them up at 833-858-4283 or 833-TKT-GATE. That's 833-TKT-GATE. You can also follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Turnkey Tailgate. Oh, shout out to my guys at Turnkey Tailgate. That's a fun one to have out there in the mix. I know I'm going to be seeing them at games, seeing them at events, so look out for more stuff coming from Turnkey. They just started their business real recently, too, so I'm excited to team up with them, help them grow their business, while they help us grow our business. It's a very symbiotic relationship with Turnkey, and they're right up my alley, these guys. When I was talking to them on the phone, I was like, okay, they want to start a tailgate rental business, like these cool guys. So check them out again, turnkey-tailgate.com. Okay, let's get to this mailbag. Obviously a mid-roll ad. That's a little different. We're going to be spacing them out, so we're not log jamming a bunch of ads at the very top. So be prepared for that. I appreciate y'all's patience with our sponsors. This is how we keep this thing going. Okay, mailbag. We're going to start with YouTube questions first. Shout out to you who got on YouTube and asked those questions. I appreciate that. First one we have from The Real DeWitt. He said, if we beat Arizona State, would that change any of you or the Wizards' predicted losses later in the season? I think you had ULLL. You added the extra L. You guys like that one, huh? And let's add the extra L this year permanently. What do you say? He said, I think you had ULLL, Marshall, and one other as losses. I sure did. What was that other loss that I had? Oh, yeah, in Arizona State, ULL, and Marshall. Those are the three that I had. Yes, for me, it would absolutely change it. Listen, the Bobcats go into Tempe. They're 2-0, and they beat Arizona State. 12-0 is on the table. Okay, I'm ready. I'll be ready for it. If they're 3-0 and they beat a ranked team at home, They go all the way to Arizona and take care of business. Yeah, changes it for me. I can't speak for the Wizard. He'll jump in at some point. He's at a wedding today, actually. Shout out to the Wizard and whomever's getting married. He'll be back for the game. But yeah, it would absolutely change it for me, for sure, because I think Arizona State was really good last year, and you could say things. Yeah, they lost Scadaboo, they lost some of these other guys. Leave it is another year of experience under his belt. I am so impressed with Dillingham, their coach. He's incredible. He's younger than G.J. Kinney. He's a remarkable guy. So I think they're a pretty great program. If the Bobcats can handle that one, look out. Appreciate you, the real DeWitt. Thanks for getting in there, asking that question on YouTube. This one is from my guy, Dylan Crane. What's up, Dylan? I always see you commenting, man. I appreciate you a whole lot. This one's for the mailbag. What's the update on Joey Hobart? I know he didn't make any rosters, but he didn't make a practice squad, CFL career. Yeah, so it was going to be hard for him to get a practice squad spot because it was just a rookie camp invite for him. And at the end of that rookie camp invite, he wasn't given a training camp invite. And usually if they're going to practice squad a guy, it's that they were all the way through training camp, through some preseason games, and then they made it to the last cut, and they want to take in some of their best practice squad guys. Really, I think this is a lot of this is, who do you know? What scout do you know that really believes in you? What coach do you know that really believes in you? Who's going to really give you a chance in a training camp? And it doesn't seem like he's quite met that person yet that's going to help him out, that's going to elevate him at the next level. I think he's going to have to go try whether the CFL or USFL or XFL or I don't know. There's so many of these. It's hard to keep up with these other leagues that he's going to have to go play somewhere else to get some traction. And I think he's good enough that if he plays somewhere else and he can gain traction and find somebody who's randomly watching that game, like, dang, who is that guy? Let's bring him in for a tryout and actually give him a legitimate chance. Because you watch those highlights at Texas State, he's hopping over players. He's one-handed grabbing catches against Baylor, pinning it against his helmet. The kid's incredible, and all with no gloves. So I'm really bummed that he wasn't given a better chance to prove his ability, because he looked good at Pro Day. When we saw him at Pro Day, thought for sure he was gonna really get in there and get a chance. I can imagine that they judge a book by its cover when they look at him. He's not the tallest receiver, didn't go to the biggest school, so he's gonna have to really work to get in there. But I believe in Joey Hobart. I hope he continues to try, but I also know he's a really good person. He's a father now as well. I know whatever he does, he's going to be successful, whether it's on the field or not. I appreciate that one, Dylan. Appreciate you, man. This one is from Jay Simon, Southwest Texas, class of 1981. See, I asked if you guys want a real name, put it on there, especially on YouTube. If you don't want me to just read your YouTube name or whatever, appreciate that, Jay. Way to put some pride on it. And you went to school that might be the best time that San Marcos ever existed. So shout out to Jay. What are your thoughts on the South End Zone complex? Did we miss the opportunity for additional prime seating? I did see that some of that premium seating in the South End Zone on top of it. I don't think so, because I understand what you're saying. Right now, it's a horseshoe at UFCU Stadium where there's the South End Zone. The bowl doesn't go all the way around. It's not complete. When I first got to Texas State, it wasn't even the horseshoe. It was just two stands on either side. So I've seen it grow and grow, but that takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of money. I know that process of closing it off and making it into a horseshoe, that took years. So I imagine if there are any plans for that, they're not on the docket at this time. So even if they were to start it, it would take years. So why not use that space now, get some premium seating, nice seats for fans, extra money, because I'm sure they're charging pretty well to be up there. And when they do eventually, when they do eventually decide to close it off and make a full bowl, when you see where it is and you see where they have the walkway that connects that end zone complex to the stands, you could see where maybe they build, you can kind of build on top of it and connect it to the stands where it is right there. So you could still close it off and add seats. I think that being there doesn't shut off them potentially closing it off and building off and closing off the bowl, I should say, and making it into a full deal. But no, I don't think it's a waste right now because those weren't in the plans. I think they have other things like an indoor stadium an indoor practice facility, not a stadium. We don't want that. Practice facility would be nice. I know there's some other things on the docket that they're trying to take care of, but that is definitely one that if the Bobcats really want to show the nation how much of a real deal program they are, that's something they'll have to do. But I appreciate that one, Jay. Shout out to you. Why do I keep calling you Jai? I don't know what that's about, but shout out to you, Jay, my guy, Jay Simons. This one is from Hunter626. Pick one on each side of the ball to have a breakout season. I guess this was on the depth chart prediction. So one player on each side of the ball to have a breakout season. I've already kind of been thinking about it for defense. And I'm going to go ahead and put it out there and say Marion Atwood. I think that nickel position in this defense is really important. I think he's a player who's been here for 2 years, and he's really been drenched in this scheme, in this culture, in this system, and he's ready for that position. We've seen Jordan Polk do some great things at that position last season. So I'm excited for Marion Atwood on defense. On offense, I don't know if it's fair to say Chris Don because he's already done so much. So I'm gonna not say Chris Don, but I do think Chris Don will solidify himself as the wide receiver 1 this year. But as far as a breakout, somebody that we hadn't seen before, Kylan Evans, really, because he's roommates with Brad Jackson, so there's that chemistry there. I can imagine when Brad Jackson's going to need a security blanket, he's gonna look for his buddy, his roommate, big 6'2" target. They've been talking him up since he got here, so I'm going to say Kylan Evans is going to have a breakout year. And I think, and an extra nod to Chris Don. I think he's going to have a really good year as well. Shout out to you, Hunter626. Appreciate you. Next one, Mason Flores. What's up, Mason? I've met Mason before. Always nice to hear from you, my guy. You cited travel as a factor to why we lose some conference games this year. How do we combat that going forward when every road conference game will involve extensive travel? This is a great question because what do you do to combat that when they go on the road and they go to these faraway places? I think like ODU last year, that didn't go so well. They looked real sluggish. It's part of the reason why I have them losing to Marshall. I think that travel and everything will play a factor. How do you combat that? That's tough. That's a question that I may need to start asking around, asking coaches, asking around all of them, because that's something that they need to think about as well. I mean, I'm struggling to think, how would you combat it? How do you replicate that at practice? What could you possibly do? I would imagine leaning on, if there's resources, especially for these administrators, coaches, if you have resources at some of these schools that went from like the Pac to the Big Ten, and all their travel and stuff like that, and what that's looking like for them and how they are preparing their athletes for it. If you real answer is the best way to prepare for it is make more money, because you can always make the travel easier, more comfortable, things like that. The more money you have, but that's not a good enough answer that's going to help them in 2026. It's like you don't want to go over your head in expenses on travel, but there's got to be a way. That's an interesting one to think about. I appreciate you posing that question, Mason. It's one I'm going to have on my mind going forward whenever I'm talking to coaches, not just in football, because if anything, it's going to affect the other sports more than football. So it's a good one. That's a thinker. I appreciate you, Mason. I don't think I fully answered it, but I appreciate that question. Eddie Galvin, I know this guy too. What's up, Eddie? Appreciate you, Eddie. Can't wait to see you again this year. Who should we keep an eye on to breakthrough player? Okay, I like this because he said breakthrough player before it was breakout. I feel like breakout is like we haven't seen him, boom, they're gonna break out. A breakthrough, this is where I want to put Chris Don, because we've seen signs. I think UTSA last year, that was awesome. Did stuff as a freshman as well, little bits and pieces, but he's playing behind guys like Cole Wilson, Joey Hobart, some really good players. And now it's his chance. I think this is his breakthrough year, and he's going to lead this team in receiving. And Shout out to Bo Sparks as well. He's going to be right up there with them. I think it's like I was saying in the last episode. I think the true wide receiver 1 is really up for competition right now. All right, let's go. We're going to Twitter questions now. That was our last one on YouTube, so good stuff. We're gonna switch over to Twitter. Boom, here we go. First one's from my guy Adrian Garza. What's up, Adrian? Always good to hear from you. Always on these Twitter streets. Were you surprised of any position starters? Note some have 2 bolded, so either could still start. True. Positions they were placed. Yeah, Brock Riker. That's probably the biggest one for me. I was like, oh wow, center. I thought he was maybe guard. I heard maybe some center. I just thought it might be a little young at center, but seems like a really mature kid. They believe in him. But Brock Riker is definitely that one for me, Adrian. Hope you're well, my guy. Hope the family is well. I know we're both fathers doing the thing. Next up, we have Miguel Luna, my guy Miguel, the Lunar Cowboy. What's up? At the Lunar Cowboy on X Twitter. If you don't know him, you gotta follow this guy. How is the kicker situation looking? Haven't heard much since our guy went up north. Big leg to replace. Yeah, I can't tell you Tyler Robles is going to be Mason Shipley. I know Tyler Robles is pretty good, and they're pretty excited about him. It's going to be hard to replace Mason Shipley. We're talking about a guy in 2023 who set the record for most field goals in a season, I want to say, and I don't think he missed one that year. He had a couple misses last season, but he had a 60-yard make at Energy Stadium. So it's going to be tough to replace Mason Shipley. But Tyler Robles coming over from USC, that's a pretty big program, Trojans. So I'm excited to see what he brings. Eagerly anticipating to see the kicking game for sure, because that helped him a lot the last 2 years, Appreciate you, my guy, the Lunar Cowboy, Miguel. Angry River Cat. This one's from at Angry River Cat. Hi, Kev. Hello. We are all excited for this season to start. I know with realignment going, the talk has been on TV deals, but what's going on with radio? Ooh, all right. This is a great question. Will we see expansion to SA and ATX, San Antonio and Austin radio markets, or are we going to be on KTSW and streaming apps only for the near future? As far as I know, it's still KTSW streaming apps for now, but you have to imagine, especially as this place grows, as more eyes are on it and everything, these Austin and San Antonio markets are finally going to start going, that's actually a pretty worthy program to cover all the way up there in San Marcos. Maybe it's not too far from either one. Maybe we should do something about that and jump into that market and might start bidding for it. Who knows? I have to, if this team continues to be successful, all of you listening right now, you're going to tune in, you're going to watch the games and listen on the radio, no matter what, no matter if they're good or bad. But these radio companies and the general public, these fan bases, they need winners. They need them to win. So if the Bobcats continue to be successful, matter of time before that happens. But yeah, that's great. That's another one like Mason's question that I'm putting a little asterisk by it, because I'm like, this is one I need to come back to and explore on my own as a journalist. Figure out this answer here. Appreciate you, Angry River Cat. This one is from Certified Bobcat at Derek Dela Cruz. What have you seen from Luster that gives him the second QB spot for now? Dude looks stout, but how is the arm? Dude is stout. He's listed at 5'10", 245 pounds at quarterback. That's what he's listed at on the depth chart. He is a big guy. I haven't seen really. It's been tough because this has been the least amount of practice or anything I've seen in fall camp. I know GJ Kenny's he's keeping it real tight, real close to the vest. Didn't let us into any practices in the spring. We were only allowed to go to 4 in fall camp, and it was only the first 20 minutes that we got in there. So one day I got to see some 11 on 11. All the other days it was just warm-ups and seeing them throw the ball in warm-ups. And his arm wasn't as strong as a Brad Jackson, as a Holden Gurnu, I think, has a really strong arm. But when he moves around in the pocket, or when they would do warm-ups where they're doing a bootleg and he's throwing it on the run, it looks good. It's a smooth throw. You can tell he has it. The thing that I'm impressed with when I look at him, though, is that size. And I just think about him running the ball, and throwback to Tyler Vitt trucking a UTSA corner and breaking his ankle, literally breaking his ankle by trucking through him. If anybody remembers that one. I envisioned that with Keldrick Luster, and I feel like that's what he brings. And I think Keldrick Luster being number 2 is even more of a sign that they're going to run the ball a lot. Now, if you saw Wizard Wednesday, you heard my guy Zach Webb. He obviously stressed the importance of running the ball, but he also said they're going to need big arm Brad, which I loved. I love that from him. He just didn't see it coming. I watched the episode and I was like, oh, big arm Brad, just throwing out another nickname. The guy's got a million nicknames. They're going to need big arm Brad, but with Keldrick Luster at number 2, this tells me that they're going to run because Brad Jackson can run with the ball. Keldrick Luster can run with the ball. That was the thing that G.J. Kinney even said at the press conference, like, hey, what was it about Keldrick Luster that has you putting him at number 2? It's his stature, his ability to run, and his stature. So I think that's what he brings right now. He's also a young guy. I'm sure they'd want to develop him a little more. But very, very fluid at that backup quarterback position. Would not be surprised. We saw multiple quarterbacks in the season opener last year against Lamar. Wouldn't be surprised to see that again this season. Especially if they're trying to figure out who is QB2. If that isn't solidified, I imagine they're going to try and roll more than one guy out. But I appreciate you there, Derek, my guy. You certified Bobcat. Let's see. Now we're switching over a little bit. There we go. We're back on track. Right off the bat, Landon Lynch. Love to hear from you, my guy. I saw the Bobcat Club putting out a shout out to you for your donation. You are the man. You and your family are greatly appreciated all around San Marcos, especially at this podcast. No doubt. You keep people like you that elevate this place, man. But this is from Landon Lynch. In the Kinney era of Texas State football, we have become accustomed to rosters primarily made up and influenced by transfer players. It seems this year is the first year of the era the team will be influenced by more TXST grown talent. How does this impact your take on the team? I love it. It's great. I was just talking about Amarian Atwood, just talking about Chris Don Jr., heck, even Kylan Evans, even though it's his second year. These are players that they went and got from the high school ranks, and they have to develop them in their system. You look around at like the leaders. Shoot, Brad Jackson's in that boat too. You look around at like the leaders, the captains. They're guys who've been here for a while. Lincoln Perry's coming into his 4th year. Khalil Alexander's coming into his 3rd year playing with the Bobcats. It's a lot of returning players and a lot of homegrown players that they've developed themselves that all they know is the system. They haven't gone to another school and learned some bad habits or are too accustomed to another system to learn this new one. They know it. This is what they know at the collegiate level. I think this is great. It's rare and rare in the transfer portal era, but it's very important. I mean, you look at the really good teams, the ones at the top of the top in the nation, they're retaining a lot of players. They're not playing the transfer portal game every single year. So I think retention of these players is huge. It's nice to go out and get new talent in the transfer portal and fill some needs, no doubt about it, but it's even better to have people that have been here for years, and you don't have to give them a crash course in the spring when they get here and then make sure they know it all in the fall, and then, okay, we're ready to go in the season. These guys know it all year round. So I love it. I think it's fantastic. I want more of it. You could see they're already doing it. This 2026 class for the Bobcats. Did an episode in July or June talking all about it. I'll do an update soon. They just haven't had many commits there. They have like 15 or so right now at the high school level. Season hasn't even started. So they're taking that very seriously, and that's increased from years prior. They're looking at these high school players and being like, you know what? We're getting a lot of value once we develop them, and it comes a year or two down the road, and then you got a real deal player who knows what they're doing when they're on the field. So I love it, Landon. I'm all for it. Appreciate you again, Landon, for the question and for what you do for Texas State. All of y'all, I know a lot of you, most of you are donors, to Texas State. And it is truly you guys that help this place, Bobcat Club, Maroon and Golden Collective, all that stuff. Number Cruncher, my guy, Russell. What's up, Russ? Good to see you at our Ton Camp on Twitter. What does Texas State football need to do this year to pave the way for an inaugural winning season in the Pac-12? Is it recruiting, team identity, QB maturity, or just win-loss record? Gosh, it might be a little bit all of the above. Definitely got to recruit. If GJ Kinney is still here, hoping he's still here, really hope he's still here. Yeah, keeping that same team identity, that's going to be successful. I think if you're bringing in a new coach in your inaugural season, that won't bode too well for really showing off, depending on who you hire, of course, in that situation. But I think that continuity will go a long way. QB maturity, yes, absolutely. I mean, if Brad Jackson is as good as advertised and they have a pretty successful year, it's hard not to imagine the following year will be just as successful. Now, that's also not hard to imagine that there's going to be some P4 teams that come calling. Now, I'm getting way ahead of myself because the kid hasn't even started a game yet. But let's say he has a good season and other teams come calling. Always a possibility, so you got to prepare yourself for that notion. What it's really going to take to have a successful initial, you said winning, right? Not winning the Pac. Yeah, winning season, not winning the Pac-12, but a winning season. Shoot, the most important thing they can do is just hang on to GJ Kinney. Don't let him leave. That's really it. Brad, if he has a really good year and these teams come calling, gonna have to figure that out. Although I did see he did an interview, Brad Jackson did. It's from the spring, but they just put it out. Zen Game Pod, I think that's what they're called. Really great content. Go check them out. He was talking about not the NIL and transfer portal and how his motivation isn't millions of dollars. It's not a bunch of money. And I was hearing that and I was like, okay, I hope it's not all talk. And that's something he truly believes in case that he were to be tempted by other teams down the road. But that's the biggest thing for me. Keep GJ Kinney if they want to have a winning season in the Pac-12. Pretty simple answer for you, Russ. I hope that did it for you, man. I hope you're well. My guy, Stavy, Derek Stavanoa. Did I say your last name right? Stavanoa? This is my dude. We had a couple beers at the bowl game. At DStav1868. This is a two-parter, he says. Okay. 1, how many beers we crushing in the tailgate pregame? 0. I'm working. I can't pregame. I can't. Can you imagine being hammered in a press box? Be a bad look. 2, how many beers we crush in the tailgate post game? Now this one I can talk about. While I convince my wife it's best to wait for traffic to clear out at Keelan Shannon's RV. Okay, I'll tell you what. Post game, I can have a beer or two, no doubt. Especially if I'm all caught up in work and if it's a win. I don't really feel like drinking when they lose. Who wants that? Post game, I'll come see you pregame, but post game is when I can have a beer with you, Derek. Always good to hear from you, Stabby. Hope you're well, man. Brandon Rule, my guy. I can't wait to see the Rules this year. You and your dad. At Crim_Brulee 10 on X Twitter. Were there 9 other Crim_Brulees and you had to do 10? Just wondered. Didn't know. Maybe it's a popular name. How much of a, quote, leash do you think Brad Jackson gets this year? Essentially, how patient do you think the coaching staff will be with Jackson under center? I think Jackson is going to surprise a lot of people with how good he plays, but the QB room seems deep. I think the term leash is going, leash kind of infers that he's being pulled because he's playing really bad. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to cycle through to see what they've got. Like if they get a little bit of a lead on Eastern Michigan or Nichols or some of these other teams, then we're probably going to see some of these multiple quarterbacks. That's why I think the leash is relatively long. I would say it's as long as for Jordan McLeod or TJ Finley. Imagine a pick or two, and we're going to see a Keldrick Luster or Holden Gerner coming off the bench. But I will say, just because if they play multiple guys, it's not a leash system where they're pulling them because they don't believe in Brad Jackson. I think they believe in Brad Jackson a lot. They may pull him to calm him down for a bit and then put him back out there if it's if the game is still in hand, if it's not like a blowout or anything. I think that GJ Kinney trusts Brad Jackson a lot. We've seen him the last 2 years, even late in the game, go after a quarterback, get somebody who's like, okay, maybe I should go get someone else who's a starter, get him in there. He didn't do that, and he's kind of known. Brad Jackson is what I've got on roster as far as experienced guys who know this system. So it's hard to say exactly how long. I don't know. You put it in feet. I'd say if let's say like Jordan McLeod and TJ Finley had a 20-foot leash, Brad's got a 10-foot leash. How's that? I think backups have even like a 6-5-foot leash below that. You don't want to go below 6 feet leash. That's way too short. You'll be stepping on your own feet and everything. All right, Brandon. I appreciate that one, man. I'll see you at a tailgate. I know I will. You got to get a hot dog ready for me, man. Next up, we have Matthew Gonzalez at Matthew G007. What's up, Matthew? Hope you are well, my guy. Given another successful season this year, do you see another contract extension for GJ? Also, given Don's comments after the Pack announcement about raising the profile of basketball, is TJ officially on the hot seat? A contract extension for GJ, I'd hope so. Like I was saying, that's going to be paramount if they want to be successful. Their inaugural season in the Pac-12 is hanging on to that guy. Don's comments after the Pac-12 announcement about raising the profile of basketball, yes, TJ, yes, he is. Absolutely. Absolutely. After the last 3 seasons, going into this one, how important basketball is in the Pac-12, absolutely. This is a make or break year for basketball. All right, we're gonna start doing a little bit of a lightning round. I apologize if you feel offended if I didn't give your question enough time, but here we go. Atomic Punk, my guy, one of the best names on Twitter, at JTESPI87. Kef, any scouting report on the offensive side of the ball for Eastern Michigan? What type of offense do they run? I know their quarterback, Noah Kim, seems like that's who they're going to start. He was a player who started his career at Michigan State, didn't do great there, went to Coastal Carolina, couldn't beat out Ethan Vasco, and ended up at Eastern Michigan. That tells me just about everything I need to know about him. He's not the best quarterback. So I think they're going to run the ball a lot. That's a lot of their identity. And so and that's the thing. The Bobcats want to run the ball. Well, Eastern Michigan pounds back. You want to pound it, they're going to pound right back. So you gotta be prepared for that on the defensive side. They're going to try to control the clock as well. They're going to do those type of things. So I expect them to run. They can air it out. Noah Kim he's got a talented enough arm. Just hasn't seemed to materialize in these games he's gone out in. But you never know. Any given Saturday out there. There you go. Appreciate you, Atomic Punk. I just liked the tweet right now. So when you see that notification, that was while I was recording. Adrian Garza, again, double dipping, my guy, at A Garza 34. Who has been one offensive and one defensive surprise to you? As far as depth chart, I guess it would be I'd say Brock Riker, obviously at center, was a surprise for me. And the Orr at weak linebacker, that surprised me for Aiden Jones. That's good for him. I like to see that. I've heard great things about Aiden Jones. I thought they were just real high on Boudwin. It seems like Aiden Jones is going to get quite a lot of reps out there. Jim Johnson at TXST Johnson. What's up, Jim? Appreciate the question. When are you going to visit the TXST tailgate and have an exceptional experience? This Saturday. Shout out to, I haven't read it yet, but one of our sponsors will be there. And I told them I'd be there. Not because of the sponsor. I've been always meaning to go to Scout. And honestly, 2024 season, my son was a newborn. He was having a tough time sleeping. I was exhausted all 2024. I feel like I have so much more energy this season. I cannot wait for 2025. But yes, my guy Jim, I'll be there, man. Appreciate the question there. This one is from @FireDoozy, H2P. What's up, my guy? How many quarterbacks do you think we'll see Saturday? Also, do you think the QB2 spot will be solidified after this weekend? If the Bobcats get a nice little lead in the first half, kind of like they did against Lamar, I think you could see 3 with Luster and Gurner. And who knows? Maybe they want to pepper in Yarnell. They may give them all a different series to really figure out that number 2, because number 2 is important. Because Brad Jackson goes down, and that number 2 is now number 1. So they have to figure that out. Don't think it's solidified after this weekend. I think they'll get a shot, and we'll see them out there, because I anticipate them getting out to a nice little lead on Eastern Michigan, and then them kind of taking their foot off the gas a little bit, not showing all their plays. We started getting nervous, like, oh, why is Eastern Michigan still in it? And then the Bobcats win the game. That's what I'm anticipating for this one, and I'm anticipating multiple quarterbacks. Because G.J. Kinney even said, yeah, we're going to play a lot of guys at every position. He tried not to specifically say quarterback that press conference, but, you can try to read between the lines sometimes. Here we go. Gridiron Cats. What's your score prediction for this Saturday? Also, what do you think are our strengths and weaknesses coming into this game? Score prediction, I'm going to say 28-17. It's not a big blowout or anything, but it's a nice solid win. I think that 17 is going to come kind of late for Eastern Michigan as well. What was the second part? Strength and weaknesses coming into this game. It's tough, when you haven't seen them quite play yet. I think on offense the run game is going to be their strength. Really at running back, offensive line, and a quarterback who can run the ball, and really good tight ends who can block. I think they're inexperienced at receivers, so that might be a weakness on offense. I would say a weakness on defense would probably be linebacker just because of unknown. Really, it's just Traylon Payne, and then we have a DB converted to linebacker and a guy who just came up from Prairie View A&M. Those are the three they're looking at, so that might be a bit of a weakness. The strength, though, that D-line. I think that D-line, they lost a lot of guys, I know it, but it's a lot better than people are going to anticipate, I feel. Appreciate that one, Gridiron. What are your expectations for this wide receiver room, especially Maven Anderson? I'm glad you brought up Maven Anderson because, this is also from Fire Doozy, my guy. Maybe I read the wrong question list. Oh, no, you double dipped. Okay, good deal. Second question for our guy, Fire Doozy. Expectations for wide receiver room. I think it's going to be top heavy. It's a lot of this is a position that I feel was hurt the most by players who left, with Cole Wilson, Joey Hobart, Jaden Williams. Those were three very, very important players last year. So they're going to have big shoes to step into and a lot to prove. They have good players to do it, and I think Maven Anderson is going to be a nice little surprise this season. When I talk about who can solidify themselves as a wide receiver one, I say probably Chris Don, but it could be Kylan Evans, it could be Bo Sparks. Maven Anderson's right there in that conversation. I think those four guys are really talented players. So we'll see. I don't think it'll be as good as last year, but they still have some pretty good players in that room. This one's from Blake at Blizz on Twitter. Got 3 Z's on that, Blizz. What is the process of getting student-athlete interviews on the pod? Can we expect more? It's really hard with student-athletes, especially during the season. We get them at press conferences. We could probably get them after the press conference, but really this time of year, they didn't even bring players out the press conference lead into this game. So they've been keeping it really tight to the chest. And I know that there's with NIL, it kind of makes things different. Some of them want to be paid to be interviewed, especially if it's a separate one on a podcast and everything. It's not a thing I've run into yet. But I mean, I'd love to do that more. I wish that we got a little more access than we do, but I also don't want to complain when there's winning results. They're winning games. So, if they feel like keeping some of these guys away from the media, we've seen it from some of these professional teams and everything, but it's hard to argue with results. And, I would like to change that more. Get some more on the pod. Get some more players out, especially this season. Paps, my guy Paps at Paps RV. If everything works as planned and Texas State thrives in the Pac-12 long term, what is the realistic ceiling compared to other Texas programs? You mean Texas State thriving in the Pac-12? I mean, if you want them to be up there with like TCU, Tech, Baylor, Texas, they're going to have to win the Pac-12 quite a bit, and the Pac-12 is going to have to elevate really to a power conference where the money is the same as them, because that's really the main difference is the resources. It's the difference in money. It's why is Texas more talented than Texas State? They have a lot more money. They can afford to bring in a lot more talent. They are realistically, they're nowhere near those programs right now, even with the Pac-12 stuff. And that's okay. They don't need to be Texas. It's totally acceptable to be a school with 40,000 students in the Pac-12. Owning your area of San Marcos is pretty good. It would take a while to get there to these programs like TCU, like Tech, like Baylor, that have years and years and years of of building up their coffers. It's like if the Bobcats get in there, even though they're in there, they're still new money, if you will. So they haven't fully established themselves. So it'll take a while. It'll take a while, Paps. But hang in there. Hang in there with your Bobcats. They'll surprise you. All right, here we go. Last one. Art of the Dad Bod. Love that name. I've got a dad bod myself. Proud dad bod wearer. From what I can see, only 2 freshmen have ever started week 1 for Texas State. I'm guessing that's FBS level. Tyler Vitton, 18, and Brad Jackson, 25. Can you confirm that? How do you think the situations compare? Any update on whether our boy, Max Crosby, is in the house for the game? I like the way he spelled house, too. Tyler Vitt didn't start the opener in 18. It was Willie Jones. Willie Jones had the keys, and then he got hurt, and then Tyler Vitt took over as a true freshman. I'm trying to think. Tyler Jones, no, because it was Tyler Arndt started the year in 13. So, and then Tyler Jones, because that was the thing, is Fran was wanting to redshirt Tyler Jones. He was amazing. Tyler Jones, Stephenville High School, won the 3A state championship, scored 10 touchdowns in the championship game. It's like 6 passing, 4 running. Incredible stuff. Still don't know how the Bobcats got that guy. They brought him in. They knew he was great. Looking at Fran used to let us just watch all practice, be by everything. And we're watching the quarterbacks compete. It's Tyler Arndt and Jordan Moore. Anybody remember that name? They were competing at the time. Who's going to be the starter? We don't know. And on the other field of the practice field, they don't really use that practice field as much anymore, but it has 2 separate 50-yard fields next to each other. The defense is practicing against the scout team on the other field, and Tyler Jones is the quarterback on that scout offense, just tuning up the number 1 defense at practice. It's like, wait, the scout team's not supposed to do this to the defense. So we kind of knew they needed to play that guy. Anyways, I went off on a tangent there. But yeah, but it wasn't until later in the year they gave Arndt the start, and then they ripped the red shirt off of Tyler Jones and threw him out his true freshman year. So I'm pretty sure that Brad Jackson is the first freshman quarterback, at least FBS era, to start the season opener for Texas State. I'd have to go back look at 11 and 12 because I actually didn't cover those seasons in person. So I was doing an internship at the time. I was a student. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. I'll confirm it, and if I'm wrong, I'll comment and say actually here's the right one. But I'm pretty sure that's right, that he's the first one in the FBS era, 2011, that has started as a freshman, a redshirt freshman. So good stuff. Great way to end the mailbag. That's a good one to end it on. I appreciate that one from the Art of the Dad Bod. All right, I kept it at, it's not quite under an hour, but it's not over an hour, so I'm pretty happy. I'm sorry if I sped through some of your questions on that one. Hope we got everyone answered. I got one more for you, though. If you're ready for this, Austin Patchmaster, they are back. Our guys at Austin Patchmaster are returning for the 2025 season. They have sponsored us in some capacity in 2023, 2024, and now 2025. Drywall, sheetrock, and plaster repair, cracked walls, cracked ceilings, paint jobs, dings and dents, popcorn ceiling removal. Did you punch a hole in your wall after a Tech State loss recently? Well, whether you're moving in, moving out, or just looking to upgrade, Austin Patchmaster has you covered. Owned and operated by a Tech State grad and a true Tech State sicko, Michael Clements, Austin Patchmaster is one of our first sponsors, and they are back for the 2025 season. Check them out at austin.patchmaster.com. That's austin.patchmaster.com. And call them at 512-200-3888. That's 512-200-3888. Say win now or get bent, and they'll hit you with a nice little 10% discount. Hit them up, austin.patchmaster.com. Oh, thank you to TGC, Austin Patchmaster, Tailgate, Tailgate, and of course, bhihats.com. Go check them out for Cats by 90. Thank you to our sponsors this year, and thank y'all for supporting them. It always helps when you follow them on social media, even if you can't directly go buy things or take part in their business directly. You can still follow them, and that helps them grow and helps support them, and it helps us as well. Make sure you go check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/winnoworgetbent. Check out our merch site, WNOGB.com. Although I will say, I'm actually going to tell you, don't check out our merch site, WNOGB.com. My apologies to my guy, Eddie Martinez. He's a sicko. We were trying to get a shirt sent to his son. Something happened on the delivery. I'm not sure, but we have one issue, and I'm gonna help Eddie get his shirt to his son. I'm gonna close the store for the bit, and we're gonna figure out what's going on with this. And we've been wanting to rework merch anyway, so check out WNOGB.com. Don't order any shirts right now. We're gonna work it out and figure it out. But we got cool looks just like this shirt I'm wearing here. Shout out to Eddie and Diego, some sickos. We'll get you that shirt. YouTube channel, Win Now or Get Bent. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Comment, whatever you're doing. If you're watching on it right now, thank you. Appreciate you. If you're an audio head, listen on Apple and Spotify. Thank you. That is important as well. I apologize you dealing with those optimized ads on there. I know that happens. That's with our hosting service. But I check us out on Twitter at Win Now or Get Bent. On Instagram at WNOGB. We're on TikTok now at WNOGB. Check us out on TikTok. I'm actually doing stuff on Instagram on TikTok now, so get on there and follow us. I'm having a good time. I'm going to do some fun stuff at the game as well. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment on all our stuff, anything that we have. Again, thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to the Wizard, Zachary Webb, and of course, thank you to you sickos, especially you ones who threw in questions for the mailbag. Always have fun answering those questions and hearing from y'all and hearing what you have to say. We'd be shouting into the void without you, and we're not. We're here, a podcast. I'm in a studio. We have sponsors. We're coming up on a 2025 season where the Bobcats are going to the Pac-12. This is fantastic. Things are cooking because of you, and I cannot thank you enough for helping us make this dream come true. But all right, everybody, let's get this season. Let's get some football in our lives, huh? Inject it right into my veins. But until next time, win now or get bent.